Started late at all. I somehow managed to cut my thumb open while making lunch, so I needed to staunch the bleeding. So we're gonna jump right into it. I see Baakari is here. I'm gonna welcome him in. Theme song for one moment. Just me for you and you for me alone. Yes. Yes, I eat my lunch.
For you.
Hey, Mr. Baakari Wilder, how are you?
I'm doing great. I'm just sitting here with my mug. And
Yes, show me your mug.
And having a croissant. Let me see. Gotta put it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so you know what that is?
I love that.
That is a photocopy of the first tap dance company that I was in, called Tappers with Attitude.
Of course, TWA.
Mm-hmm.
Such an important youth tap company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That is awesome.
Yeah, so my mom helped me find that. She
had it thank you, Mom.
Dining room. Yeah.
Love it. Mm-hmm. I am rocking both my Gallaudet shirt and mug.
Okay.
To represent for my DC friend.
Nice.
So nice. It was the only shirt I had that had Washington DC on it somehow, and of course I know Gallaudet is something we'll be talking about later. So
yes, definitely. Cool.
So Baakari, I open every one of these the same way. Would you mind tell everybody where you are right now, and would you mind giving us a little look about your environment?
Sure. So I just moved into a new studio apartment. Yeah. And I'm very grateful. And here's it's pretty bare, but it's got some nice lighting in there.
Nice.
And got a little kitchenette and everything. And I'm waiting on Amazon and a couple of the cats to drop things by and get it a little cracking. You know, it's cozy. I'm just happy and grateful.
I hear that. It's a strange time to move, isn't it? We had to move during this. We moved March 24th. Okay. And it was a hot mess.
Yeah.
How did you find moving in this? Did you have movers? Did you do it all by yourself?
Well, my best friend actually, he has a huge truck and a huge van. So, thankful for best friends. You know, I could have simply had to rent something, but, he was there. He's always there. And so, he'll be back to help me with a few other things. And it's good to have good friends.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to start this interview proper by asking the question I always like to ask first. What was your first experience with tap dance? What's the first time you really remember seeing it or doing it or being a part of it in some way?
Okay, so, since I was 3 years old, my mother just put me in a tap class. You know, her story is that I was moving around a lot, had a lot of energy, just like my son does. And, she figured dance class would be a nice avenue. She wasn't that big into sports or anything. I played sports in the neighborhood, but she would never really let me sign up for a team or anything. So it was a Saturday, local neighborhood. I grew up in Laurel, Maryland, and Deerfield Run Community Center. They taught tap classes Saturday mornings, and I was myself, probably the only male, along with another boy, just the two of us. So we were often the highlights, outside of the choreography and stuff like that. And eventually my sister joined me when she got old enough. For a moment there, I actually stopped dancing because the boy had quit. And so I felt a little bit insecure about, being in a room with all girls. But the reason why I came back was because I had to walk my sister to dance class. And so I was encouraged to, revisit what I knew she was doing. And Yeah, so it had always been a Saturday thing. It went from
Mm.
there to Feet First in Bethesda to Holton Arms. It was just a natural something we did, regularly, tap class. Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Mhm. Yeah.
And you got the bug.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, because you asked something about falling in love with it or whatever. I think at that age, it's really just something I did regularly and must have enjoyed it. I don't know if I like I think I started falling in love once. Well, my mother would often show a lot of footage of Bill Robinson, but I think once I stumbled across Gregory Hines, um, I think his image and his take on the dance was something that I guess made tune me in more than some of the Bill Robinson videos. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I had to think about that, and I think something about Gregory and his swagger, kind of,
Hmm.
resonated in
Well, he
me.
was so of the moment, right? Because Bill
Yeah.
Robinson, as cool as he was, it was often black and white. It was kind of back in the day, right? Whereas
Yeah.
Gregory, when you and I were coming up, because I think generationally you and I are about the same age, and when we were coming up, like Gregory was the thing, and he was in
Right.
pop culture, and he was in magazines, and
Right.
he wasn't a figure from the past. He was very much of the present.
Right.
And you're right, he did have swagger, didn't he? He
Yes.
really,
Yes. Yes. A lot. He was
yes,
cool cat.
presence.
Definitely.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm intensely interested in the concept of lineage, right? This is something that tap dancers take very seriously. So would you
Mhm.
mind sharing with us a little bit, who were your teachers? And if you know, who are your teachers' teachers?
Okay. Well, let's start with who my teachers are. Like I said, I started at Deerfield Run Community Center. There's a wonderful lady named Miss Betty, and
Love
she
it.
just taught class. I moved on to Feet First in Bethesda. This other lady, her name is Gigi Biscaglio, and she actually teaches at Knock On Dance Studio right now, currently. And I would say from her, I got my sense of rhythm and combinations. She really, had a plethora of combinations so that the timing and the rhythm, I guess at some point my sister and I became a bit much for her because we were just soaking a lot of it in. But in terms of, choreography and timing, that is something she, was very strong with. Moved on to, I don't know how we discovered Renee Crichton, but she was teaching at a studio. Well, she was teaching at Holton Arms in Bethesda, which was an all girls school. And she'd also hired the legendary Yvonne Edwards to teach,
Oh,
to teach there. So I really, I must have been around 12 or 13 or maybe 10 or 11 when I kind of bumped into them. And they were a good source for actually inviting a lot of um, dancers from out of town to teach, influence us, and also lay choreography on Tappers with Attitude. So we had
that's cool.
visits from Brenda Buffalino, from
Mm.
Josh Hilberman.
Mm. There we are. I
Okay,
lost you for
okay.
literally 3 seconds.
Yeah,
I
that
heard
was
Brenda Buffalino and Josh Hilberman.
Levon Robinson.
Ooh,
Often
I remember Levon.
we invited. So they had those connections. They they were the source for along with the company where we were. A lot of choreography was laid upon us, but they were source for reaching out to a lot of artists out of town and bringing them in as special guests. And the company would perform, and then we perform in the studio space. There was enough room to bring in chairs and everything, and they'd be the evening guest. And so, yeah, that's really how my relationship with Brenda um, kind of came about. Um, yeah. Now, as far as their teachers, um, I know Miss Edwards knew Jimmy very well.
Yeah.
And I knew that because when Jimmy came to visit DC, he would often ask about her. I need to take a little bit more time and get some more stories out of her,
Yeah.
because she was definitely around in the moment. Um, um, as was Miss Renee, and the information that she gathered as well. Yeah, yeah.
That's cool. I was lucky enough to teach one time with Yvonne. We were hired together to create like a 5-day training program for 8-year-olds
Oh
at a
wow.
tap festival. And I'd never met her before. And I remember I met her and just instantly I was smitten, right? Everything, I
Right.
hung on every word she said. She just clearly had this generosity and love of the
Right.
art.
Hmm.
Um, so
Lovely
I've only had that one
lady.
encounter with her, but
Hmm.
what an amazing person.
Lovely lady. They both pushed me, and they both made sure I got tons of information. We had
Mm.
improvisational classes. We
Mm.
had choreography classes. Um, I was given a chance to teach at 15, but we had specific classes to really talk about the craft and how to go about. And so I got a lot of information from them, in terms of, shaping me as an artist, not yeah, well-rounded artist, that is.
Yeah.
Right.
Is there anything that any of your mentors have said to you that still stick with you or resonate, or anything that you catch yourself saying and you say it and you go, I know where that came from?
Yeah, I had to think about that. And you know what I came up with? Okay, so Aunt Diane, she calls me quite often. Uh,
Mm.
Not calls me, but she calls me. This is what she calls me quite often, in public, or in typing, on Facebook or whatever. She calls me the professor.
Mm.
And we the first time we had like a really really good talk, like spent time together, was in at a festival in Atlanta. I mean, I had spoken to her several times before, but this was a key moment. And this might have been when she started calling me professor, actually, where we really started talking about the dance, and how I think about it, how people think about it, and everything. And I believe that's where that term that she refers me to comes from. Now, what it means, I mean, she didn't totally break it down or anything like that, but I would gather, if anything, someone who just thinks a lot, or
Yes.
takes their time with, the dance. And I appreciate that. And
Hmm.
that's what she refers to me as.
I
Yeah,
love it.
professor.
That's the name you live up to, right? Somebody calls you that.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's an expectation.
Yeah, most definitely.
I love it. Tell me this, technique is this kind of word that dancers throw around a lot. And I
Uh-huh.
think in tap dance, technique is a word that maybe is a little more open to interpretation than in some art
Hmm.
forms. What does technique mean to you within the context of tap dance?
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, and I've really appreciated and liked the way some of the guests that you had have broken it down. It's caused me to think more, and I've been inspired by their interpretation first and foremost. But I just want to say, as from a teacher's perspective, that's often where I vocalize, articulate, or spend time explaining technique. It's I probably live it more when I'm performing, but it's not much
Mm.
it's more of a feeling when I'm performing. But when and I have long conversations with my students, so I'm simultaneously discovering things as I'm talking, which
Yes.
is, there's a beautiful beauty in that I like, because I'll wow myself, like, whoa, I didn't realize that. But it yeah, I break down things, from breathing to using the body properly, to lifting off
Yes.
the ground, to executing with the utmost subtlety, and to shifting your weight properly and being situated properly. And those are things that I point out to hopefully um, cause a release or inspire a release in
Ooh.
my students, because oftentimes
Nice.
it comes down to being relaxed, or I promote that, I encourage that, breathing and being relaxed. And that's a lot connected to my acting as well. But
Yes.
yeah, in order to really truly, connect with whatever it is you're trying to say or do, especially from a physical and mental perspective. So yeah, that's where technique comes in. I would think that I use it, which isn't, I'm not conscious of it when I'm dancing, when I'm performing, but I would think that I use it somehow when I'm performing, but I articulate it more in class. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I like that answer. I'll
Mm.
tell you, a former guest on this, I won't say who, reached out to me and said, "Hey, was my answer to your question about technique weird or hard to understand?" And I said, "I don't think so. Why?" And he said, "Oh, somebody came at me and was like, 'What does that mean?'" And I was like, "Who would do that to you?" And he said, "My mom."
Okay, well, hey, I mean, moms and get away with a lot. So.
Yep. I will tell you, I mean, my mom watches every episode, and she is quite an authority on tap dance, and she is
Yes.
not scared to tell me what she thinks.
Oh yeah,
And I love it.
mine
I
too.
absolutely love it. Yep. I
Mine
don't take it
too.
for granted.
Mine too, since the very beginning.
I
Mhm.
love it. So, this is the question I always ask mainly because I think it serves to inspire others. But have you ever had to come back from a major injury of any kind or take
Oh
some time
yeah.
off for something?
Wow. So I've got one of the biggest stories to tell. And I don't know. Well, it might bring some clarity too for those who may have wondered what's going on with Baakari in his life. But
Mm.
at 17, uh, during Bringing the Funk, I was diagnosed with lupus. So I actually, during one of the runs of the shows, I had to leave because something was wrong, and I was sick for a very long time. And
Mm.
so that was 17. So I kind of got through that. Lupus, is a disease that attacks is an autoimmune disease that attacks different
Mhm.
parts of the body, joints, to in anything. They don't want to fight anything. So I definitely didn't take it as seriously at 17, when they're telling you to take medication regularly and you never had done any of that in a time in your life. Be consistent, change your lifestyle, whatever. So
Yep.
it ended up it ended up destroying my kidneys.
Mm.
Years later, it had done some other things, mess with my brain and my joints, but finally it exhausted itself. So I technically, like the average person who suffers from lupus, I don't have those type of illness behaviors right now. They say it's in remission, but it destroyed my kidneys. And
Mm.
um, my brother was able to give me his kidney in 2005, and that was definitely a blessing. It lasted
Mm.
for about 10 years. Again, you know, probably didn't take care of it as much as I could have or should have, you know. So now I'm back on dialysis, and I've traveled with dialysis. I've gone to LA, I've gone to Germany. As long as I do my dialysis, I'm fine. I have some wonderful donors, actually two young ladies who have come forth and decided to donate, and I would encourage, just a public announcement for those, you know, there are plenty of people out there, including myself, who would like to have a better life, you know, and you only need one. So by those people donating kidneys, that puts me at a higher level on the list. I just have a few health issues that don't make me the best match. So so I on a weekly basis do dialysis. That's basically it. And it has never stopped me from dancing. It's sometimes made me tired, made me swell up a little bit. I have friends that have, you know, that know my situation, that have always encouraged me. No, it was never been a moment where I had to stop dancing. I think my drive really, I amaze doctors a lot. Like, how are you still dancing? How are you still doing this? With all of this. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, that is very inspiring. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. I think that's really, again, it's important. People need to hear that, you know, despite whatever setbacks we might encounter in our life, the dance endures and
Yes, it does.
our capacity, right?
Yes, it does.
So thank you for that. That's often, you know, when I teach kids, I always tell them the story. I was lucky enough, I think like you knew Peg Leg Bates, right?
Yes, not
I was lucky
maybe not
enough.
as much as you, but yes, I knew of
Oh,
him. Yes.
yes. And I always teach about him to kids I teach because he's such an amazing example, his
Yeah.
story of no matter what life deals you, if the
Right.
dance is meant to happen, the dance will happen.
For sure. For
So,
certain.
thank you. That is an incredibly inspiring story you just told me.
Yeah.
Tell me this. I'm in addition to lineage, I think, you know, there's a few things that really impact us coming up as dancers. One, of course, being our lineage. The other, though, is there's a certain element of geography involved, right? Like certain areas, Boston, Chicago, DC, New
Yeah.
York, LA, have a certain maybe approach or energy to the dance because of where they're from.
Right.
Can you say anything about maybe how you think being from kind of Maryland, DC, Virginia, that area, how that impacted or influenced the artist you are?
Yeah. Well, two things. Two things, and the first thing kind of just came to me. At some point, especially growing up, the companies, it's a bit different now, were a lot closer connected to each other, and so the shows that were put up, you'd have the same companies showing up at those venues and doing performances together. You know what I'm saying? And we knew each other very well. And so when people like Savion came into town with Barbara to teach a residency, everybody from these different companies, you know, would come and audition for his class, and we'd end up dancing at Dance Place in Washington D.C. So it was everybody had a very strong passion for the dance, and the brilliant thing out of it is, one thing I have to point out is, so again, you had these big companies that were still predominantly women, and so I was over here at Tappers with Attitude. Joe Webb was over there at I can't remember the name of the studio, and Vincent Bingham was with oh man. All right. Anyway, what I'm trying to make is that's when we would get up because we were stars of our own company. you know,
Yes.
like highlights, you know, coming to, you know, do the improv section or something like
Ah,
that. And then
yeah.
eventually becoming friends, you know, and, you know, being in one of Savian's first tap companies called Real Tap Skills, which included Andrew Nimmer. So I've known
Yes.
Drew since he was 10. But but yeah, there was a bigger connection. Now it seems a bit spread out, which is kind of strange. Also, the second part I want to talk about was, um, I think we've always been very big on musicality. You
Mm.
know, really, um, really big on that timing, rhythm, and being educated in that way. Um, or at least I can definitely say that strongly for knock on wood. But
Yeah.
yeah, that and so that's kind of where I come out of, you know, developing a strong ear for things.
Yes.
But yeah, yeah, that and so yeah, those there's a community here. When we have the DC Tap Festival, for instance, that Chloe and Maud are often in
Hmm.
charge of, a lot of the former students, people who were dancing, may show up for that and have a little mini reunion or something like that. Um, Not everybody's dancing anymore, but it was a thing. We were all around the same age, and so you know, our moms were bringing us, our parents were bringing us to tap class and stuff, and we were all
Yes.
wide eyed, like who's this, who's that, you know. But yeah, it was cool. Hmm.
Well, and now you have been playing a major role in a youth tap company in that area for quite
Yeah.
a few years now. Could you tell us a little bit about that and why you think it's important to do that?
Oh yes. So Lisa Swinton Eppard is
Hmm.
the founder of Capital Tap, and when she was putting together the company, we had a talk in the parking lot, and she asked me if I would um, uh, be a part, and I became assistant artistic director, and you know, it just felt right. Having been in a company myself, you know, been groomed as a youth, you know, to pass that on and to, you know, share my experiences with, you know, a youth group, you know, and try my best to educate them about, again, musicality and timing and you know, the value behind the dance, you know. And
Yes.
fortunately, you know, we come up uh, um, uh, at a time where the legends were living and their life stories, you know, were shared verbally with us, and so I have some of that to pass on, you know, vocally, to help them, you know, understand, you know, its essence, you know. And I do like to share that, um, its essence. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
What a great gift to be able to give to young dancers, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
not just a gift, but I would say an obligation, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
part of
Uh-huh.
the deal for us being able to be there is we
Right.
don't just get to hoard it and keep it to ourselves.
Right. Hmm.
We got to share that information because
Right.
it's a
And
duty.
yeah, this group of people, Capital Tap, they have definitely grown to have a level of respect and professionalism, and it shows in their performance. It shows when they travel. They've often been spoke about, you know, their mind state, you know. And so I'm grateful to be working with Lisa, because she's pretty much as serious as I am about, you know, translating, you know, this essence to the kids and helping them mature in that area. Yeah. Mm-mm. Mm.
So let's go back in time a little bit. You know, when people talk about Bring Into Noise, Bring Into Funk quite a bit, right? It was an incredibly important moment in time for the tap community. I remember being, you know, a teenager, or not a teenager, I would have been in my early 20s, I guess, in Kansas City, and
Mm-hmm.
hearing about this new Broadway show and being so excited that tap was returning to Broadway again, right? Because Black and Blue happened. And
Yeah.
then it kind of felt like there was this period where now what, right? And I thought there was going to be all these things, and there wasn't. So when Bring It a Noise came out, I remember feeling like it was such a kind of an about time moment, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
One of the things I think people don't necessarily appreciate is just how young the cast was. You guys were, you were all
Yeah.
so young, Derek and you and Dulé.
Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about what was that experience like?
Yeah. I
How
was
did that show come about with your involvement? And, you know, what was the day-to-day doing 8 shows a week or however many shows you
yeah.
did? You know, what was that like?
Yeah, I was definitely a baby. My first trip to New York, actually, you know, I followed Savion out there to perform at the Delacorte Theater. Ted Levy, um, he directed the show out there, and from there, I actually got accepted into NYU in
Hmm.
theater program. I was actually a second year student um, because of my theater background prior to going in. So I was actually in school with 25-year-olds. I was 17, you know, with some adults, you know. But I got through my first year, and around my second year, Savion just asked me to. We had already had a very strong relationship through the residencies that he had um, taught in DC and everything. So he asked me to come and workshop, you know,
Hmm.
his production at the Public Theater. And so this is how this works. So I was at Playwrights Horizons Theater School, which was right across, literally right across the street from the Public Theater.
Hmm.
And so I had to negotiate. I'd already given up one negotiation last year because we got to step back and talk about Brenda, but
Uh,
but they had let me slide because I'd gotten that job before. But anyway, the they literally let me run across the street and work on the show at the Public Theater and run back and go to class for the
hmm.
longest time because
It's
I
amazing.
mean they just felt like they knew it was right, you know. And so I was running across the street, the actor in me getting to hear George Wolf's voice, man. I mean, we're talking about George Wolf, this
Yeah.
articulate being, you know, Mr. Baakari, this articulate acting being. You know, first of all, I was tripping off, and all my theater peers were tripping off that I was spending time with George.
Yeah.
But so him, along with Savion, learning
Hmm.
choreography that he was just spitting off the top of his head, you know, a combination of that, we spent hours, you know, in there sitting at the table doing choreography, talking about the show, building the show, and it was definitely an experience for a young person like myself. At the time, it was myself, Vincent Bingham, Jimmy Tate.
Hmm.
Dule came in a little bit later. I recognized him. I didn't know quite who he was, but I recognized him because I saw the Tap Dance Kid um, in DC years before, and it was his eyes. I saw him in the elevator, and I was like, I know who this guy is. I don't know, but I know. And his eyes from the Tap Dance Kid was the only thing I remembered. So he came in as the kid, and uh, we were going to take that thing to Broadway. I had a conversation with my mom. I said, "Ma, I can't, I can't do school, and it's a lot." She said, "Go ahead, baby."
Yes, Mom.
She said, "You got to do what you got to do, baby. You know, just you know, we'll come back to it. You know." But and the journey began. We went to Broadway. I bought a nice, expensive watch that I've been looking for, looking at in the window for the longest time. That was my piece. And you hear George Wolf in the dark, Mr. Baakari. I mean, gosh, it was definitely a crazy experience. Young cats, bucket drummers, Savion, everybody, and we were young and crazy. And it was 8 shows a week. So Savion, you know, he had choreography that was out of this world, but he also left room for us to improvise. So on a nightly basis, we were building, we were stealing, we were working on our left foot. It was left foot night. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we're gonna pull everything out on our left tonight.
I love it.
We were building in the dressing room and running downstairs to 5 minutes before the showtime, hearing the music, jumping on stage, you know, and just doing the damn thing. And it was ridiculously exciting, you know, and it exhausted me in the beginning when I got sick. But fortunately, I came back, and Savion jumped across the whole pit when I came to see the show, kissed my feet, and I got to do the lead for about a year. And yeah, that's my mentor. That's my strong, powerful teacher, you know, and friend, you know, because we only got 3 years between us, so we've done a lot together. But as far as the dance is concerned, I have a lot of respect and admiration for him, and yeah. Yeah.
That's a great story. Was it? How was it stepping into Savion's shoes and taking over that lead role? Was that an intimidating process, or?
It was a bit. It was a bit. You know, I think you know, the actor in me wanted to do some things a little differently. You know, because that was my approach. I think the most challenging part was the scene with the mirrors when we that actually in slave ships, you know, because it's full improvisation and everything. No, I'm not Savion, so I had to draw from what felt right for me, you know. And he would push me. He would definitely push me to do even better, and I would do the best I could. But at some point, you know, after doing it 8 shows a week, it definitely started to feel right. You know, I was grateful to have been trusted in that role, in that position, having been there in the beginning, having been mentored by him. So I think there was a bit of trust that Baakari could hold that down, you know.
Yes.
So and I just wanted to, you know, nothing really mattered. I just wanted to dance, wanted to represent you know that.
So tell me this, you know, last Sunday I had the privilege of interviewing Ayadali, and she told us a story about you. And I promised at that point that I wanted to hear the story from your perspective.
Okay.
So tell us about meeting a young Miss Thang, Miss Ayadali, and that experience, and watching her become the amazing artist that she became.
Miss Thang, indeed. From what I recall, I think prior to meeting her, I either heard about her or heard that she was looking for me, you know, through some people or something, and then we finally got up, and we definitely what I remember vividly is spending time at Weinstein was the dormitory that I stayed in, and I remember spending time in the basement, um, just throwing some exercises at her, and she was definitely, it wasn't a struggle. I mean, I would break it down, but it wasn't. She definitely absorbed a whole lot. Had a lot to, and so I found myself having to build on that. Okay, well, let's go further, and it might have even been, exploring the paddle and roll, and working on lots of different combinations as well. Yeah, my memory is not the greatest, but I would like to also think, because she spoke about phasals, and that's very blurry to me. But there was a time where I I brought a lot of dancers over to Deanna's. Are you familiar with Deanna's?
No, and I love New York
Okay.
dance history, so please
So
share.
Deanna's was a place that Tamango,
Oh,
Max,
sure.
and Roxanne were holding down. And that
So it's
was,
the European place.
yeah. That was and see, I didn't know New York that well, but I'd say further down from Third Avenue, I'd have to ask Tamango where it was. But they okay, she said yes, so she must have gone there. Right. So they were holding that down, and they were very inviting, and they let me jump in and dance, and it was a little spot, and Tamunga was doing some candle stuff and everything. It was just holding that whole thing down, and Max would come in, and yes, because I knew about La Cave, but I didn't. I may have visited that maybe a few times in my life, but Deanna's was the spot that I traveled to often on weekends,
Nice.
and got and developed a relationship with Tamungo through that, and also Max. But yeah, so I'm sure she and I also spent time at uh me and Al Deli at one of the studios that you could rent as well, on the NYU campus. But yeah, it was great times. I all of a sudden disappeared and started working on the show, and I, for some reason, I remember she was looking for me, or that was strange because I had to, I was working on something, but and then here she goes showing up again, on the scene, passionate about the dance. What I'm saying? Nothing's gonna hold her back, and nothing has. So yeah, Iodeli, I have to say this as well. So when I was sick, um, um, she and my father developed a really nice relationship because she would often check on me, and he told me that. And so for the longest time, he would often ask about how Iodeli was doing, afterwards, because I was just out. So he explained that to me, and so they, you know, had their moments of talking, according to my dad.
That's very sweet.
Mm-hmm.
What a sweet story. I love that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I hope you're able to read what she's writing. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. I love you too,
Oh,
Deli.
yes. So, I wanted to ask you a little bit about this because I was, there were quite a few things I knew about you already, but I always ask for people to send me their bios because I always discover something I didn't know about the artist. Sometimes even artists I've known for quite well for years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I picked out on your bio was that you had worked in Africa.
Yes.
And I was very curious to ask about that because, interestingly, I work in Europe a lot and I work in America a lot, and I have many tap friends that work in South America and Asia, but the one continent you don't necessarily hear people talk about actually taking tap too much is Africa, despite the fact that, of course, West Africa played such a huge role in the
Hmm.
development of this art form.
Hmm.
Tell me about working in Africa and how that came about and what that was.
Okay, so it was Harare, Zimbabwe. Was
Mm,
the capital. Um, a friend of mine, her name is Kamal Sinclair. We were at NYU at the same time. She was in a different school than I was. I don't know which school it was, but she was in a different school. Um, she ended up graduating, and she was also a member of Stomp. So we stayed connected, and she had asked me. This was after Noise Funk had closed. She was working on a artistic project that consisted of poets, musicians, and she wanted a tap dancer. And so
mm,
she asked me to be a part of it. It was called The Beat. And so uh, it was just a through line of highlighting different forms of dance. And I guess in the storytelling sense, showing how they were connected, you know.
mm,
And she had this wonderful connection with this group of people where we had performed it off of Third Avenue in a studio out on Third Avenue, and then through that connection, they paid for us to come to Harare, Zimbabwe, and it was
mm,
like a 2 week trip, and they had it was a time where they had this huge festival going on, so they were selling things over here in Harare, and then they had this big field with this huge theater, and we performed maybe once or twice with this,
mm.
and I was also invited as a special guest, not just for the show, but as this, we did a show at one location, and the open field, I performed with an orchestra out there to
Mm.
David Dance. Um, so um,
Yes.
so it was just great to be out there. Um, I saw the children dance with their feet. They didn't have shoes on, and the rhythms blew me away. As a
Yeah.
percussive dancer, seeing these kids
Mm.
naturally articulate with their feet, I felt like I had been educated all over again,
Yeah.
and that was definitely a highlight, getting that. But yeah, that is. I got to take my son back to Africa because it
Mm.
was just a pleasure being out there. It was lovely, and all must go. And
Mm.
I'm very thankful for the opportunity. Yeah. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Wow, thanks. That is
Yeah.
cool. I love hearing about that.
Mm-mm.
Um, One of the things that I think is unique about you is that you are equally passionate about acting as you are with tap dancing.
Correct.
Um, Tell me a little bit about how those two feed into each other and how one informs the other.
Right. Right. Well, I definitely want to say that I've been dancing longer than I've been acting. Um, I'd say my acting came about more in elementary school. Again, my mom was into the arts, so summer programs, Children's Urban Arts Ensemble, DC Youth Ensemble,
Mm,
you know, and some of those places, I mean, we were key tap dancers, so they take advantage of the fact that we could tap. They weren't teaching tap, but how to use your voice and how to act and how to speak and everything. So these were summer theater programs that I've been through all my life until I wound up in a public school that had a theater program, you know, and uh, how they connect. Well, I think my fear for the stage is 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 not there, because I've just been used to being present in that way. Also, okay, so the dancer in me is very in tune with his body. And what I noticed, you know, when you go take theater courses, especially in college and stuff like that, there's often, you know, exercises where you have to relax. As an actor, you need to be in tune with your body. So that's always been a bit of an advantage for me as a dancer and an actor. You know, because I mean, I mean, it can be very challenging for an actor to be in tune with their body. So, in terms of that them playing together, I think that helps a lot. You know, me having used my body for all these years and understanding it, breathing wise as well. Um, yeah, uh, I'm more confident and settled in my dance. Acting is a bit still. Uh, I love it deeply, but I can be very fearful about it, you know, and the challenges that are required of me as an actor. Um, it's not as I'm not as grounded in it as a tap dancer. Um, I also find that my style as a tap dancer can be a bit laid back and relaxed, and that might uh, not be as beneficial as an actor, because then I'll take a more of a laid back, relaxed approach to my acting when I need to be up or something. So yeah, there's a lot that I find out about myself that work together and also maybe conflict. But I'm very passionate. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had as an actor and look forward to more out there. But all of the opportunities I've had as an actor, job-wise, have been inspirational and have allowed me to grow, you know, and I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
Lovely. So I have one more question, and then we're going to take a 10-second break because we have to end this Instagram feed and start a new one because there's an hour limit.
Okay.
And then when we come back, we're going to do everyone's two favorite parts, which is the 2-minute tap class and the rapid riffs. So I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll take about literally a 10 to 15-second break.
Okay.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you about before moving on to the class, you and I have talked about this before. So for about 11 years, Chicago Tap Theater, through myself, has been teaching children who are deaf and hard of hearing how to tap dance.
Yes.
And you and I reconnected last year because I had applied for and received a grant to go to Gallaudet and observe the professional deaf dance company that they have and watch methodology and communication. I was very intrigued by, you know, how do the people who've been doing it forever do it, right? Because Gallaudet has had a dance company for decades. In fact, 60 years of dance. So one of the things I found out is that you also are quite animated by and interested in bringing dance education to the deaf population. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I've had a passion for sign language for many years, and I'm currently studying to be an interpreter. I had been off and on, and right now I'm getting ready to enter the actual interpreting program. And that's connected a lot to my acting, you know, just visually and everything. I find me be able to resonate through that. But I've been a counselor at Deaf Camp for many years, and that's really where I was able to share my art form of the dance to a lot of kids, and actually, you know, either entertain them and show them a few things. I've never been on a platform as yours where I've been able to teach in classes, but they know me at Def Camp as the tap dancer.
Yes.
So, yes, when I heard that you were at school where I'd studied, that definitely excited me, you know, because as I learn more about this language, I do hope, you know, along with signing in theaters, interpreting in theaters, that I can develop a bit more of a connection with the dance community, and why not? Miss Edwards has set up, or at some point, Miss Yvonne worked with some people in the deaf community as well. It's definitely a dream of mine. If you know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I wish I had your signing skills. I've been teaching the population through a school here for 10 years,
Uh-huh.
and I pretty much know all the words you need to know to teach tap dance. But God forbid somebody ask me how my day was or what I ate for lunch. My vocabulary is very limited and specific. So I can say faster, slower, again, focus, try, you know, all those words.
Awesome.
But colors and foods and simple things.
Yeah.
It's like my German or my Spanish, right? I know just the words to teach, but anything else I'm lost. Well, I love that you do that, and I love that you've been invested in that community and that's something you want to pursue further. I feel like that is something you and I are definitely going to continue this conversation.
Awesome.
Because I would love to learn more from you about the language itself and communication, and I'd be happy to help connect you with some people at Gallaudet and all that kind of fun stuff.
Awesome.
So we'll definitely,
awesome. Great.
Yeah, that's something we have to continue, because I love that. I really, that's very dear to me that you do that. So we're gonna take a 10-second break. So everybody check right back in. When we come back, 2-minute tap class and rapid riffs.
Okay.
Yay! Right. Thank you, Baakari. I'll see you in about 10 seconds.
Okay.
Hello, Mark Yownley, founder and artistic director of Chicago Tap Theater, and we are back with the last part of Tea on Tap. I think for many people, the most exciting part of Tea on Tap. This is the part where you will get to experience a 2-minute tap class from Mr. Baakari Wilder, after which we will do our rapid riffs. That'll be 10 questions, super fast. All right, and Baakari is back. All right.
Okay. All right. So, let me put it like this. All right. So I have a quick concept. All right.
All right.
A very quick concept. I'm in my apartment, so I'm not even gonna try it with the shoes. But this is a warm-up exercise that I do. I like to be loose and relaxed. Okay, when I'm executing, loose and relaxed. So this is often something I do to wake up my feet or to wake up my students' feet. It's sort of like, you know how runners start to kick their feet before they're getting ready to jog. Okay, so my ankles are nice and loose. Okay, so if I'm very relaxed, I can hit this heel, and I can shake it, make 6 sounds over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I like to alternate. Okay, and I often go back to this inside of warm-up, go through a warm-up, and then return to this. Okay, to shake it out. I'm working from all the way up top, trying to loosen up this part of my body so that I can execute effortlessly. So the exercise is just okay. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and so we just go back and forth. We often do a little call and response. Okay, and so I'll get to one part of my one side of my leg, and we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. and then that will respond to that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So then we're concentrating on shifting, having the right amount of weight on one side to support that loose leg. Okay. Also, just to be certain that this is not a nerve thing. Okay. The numbers are important because it's almost like a reset. It looks like I'm doing them evenly, but I'm actually resetting. Every time I hit a number, I'm recharging that leg, so it's not a nerve. So if I do this slowly, I'd be doing 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But you don't see that. Okay, I'm pressing that hard on the accent, you know, resetting, so it's not a nerve thing, but I'm actually in total control of that. Okay, and then we return to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We might do just go through a plethora of that, loosening up in that area. Yeah, and that's my conceptual warm up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm a loose ankle nerd when it comes to tap technique. I'm all about loose ankle hip based work. So that speaks. I am gonna use that next class I teach today. In fact, I'm gonna say here's a little warm up courtesy of Baakari. We're gonna do that because I love that. That is beautiful.
Cool.
Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I really appreciate that.
No doubt.
So everybody, it is time for rapid riffs. These are 10 questions with very short answers. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 1. What tap shoes do you wear?
K360s.
Taps, tight or just a little bit loose?
My brother Jason gives me some blocks, but I'm a fan of the K360s.
Very good. You like your taps tight or just a little bit loose?
I like them tight. Yeah, I like them tight.
All right, so I'm going to warn you, some of these questions, some of the guests, as you know, they've had a hard time answering.
Yeah. Well,
favorite song to tap dance to?
Favorite song? Oh, so here's the story. Okay, because it changes, and it's recently changed since the Tap family reunion. So, you familiar with David Gilmour? Wait, is it David? Yeah, is it David Gilmour? Sorry. Yeah. Yes. I want to say the Jitterbug Waltz.
Nice.
Yes.
Favorite composer?
Oh man. Okay, now that's. Let's go with Art Tatum.
Oh yeah, nice. You're in 4/4 time. Do you count in 4s or 8s?
I count 4s.
Favorite tap dancer to watch who is no longer with us?
Oh, that's hard because that changes too. Let's say Bunny.
Favorite living tap dancer to watch?
Oh, Savion, hands down. I could watch him for days. I could be caught in a trance. Yeah.
Well, and he has the deepest pockets, right? So you could watch for days and not see the same thing.
Right.
Favorite choreographed tap piece you've ever seen or done?
So I would like to say mine only because I shared it with Jason and Domisha, and we've done it before, and it was a wonderful experience. But watching them learn it, I mean, it wasn't challenging to them, but just watching them interpret it and interpret my nuances. So I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to rock with them with something I sometimes keep it real simple, but also, nice. You know,
Yeah.
not intricate, but subtle intricacies. So,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, and you could actually probably catch that on YouTube somewhere. Hmm. Yeah.
Let's see if we can find that and post that. Everybody watching, if one of you can find that, please in the comments post a link to that because I would love to see that.
Hmm.
What single tap performance that you've seen or done do you remember the most? Or no, not that you've done. What single tap performance that you've seen do you remember the most vividly?
That I've seen. Oh,
Yep.
oh, I had it because I thought about it. Um, oh, Jesus, that I've seen. Mm. I'll go with uh uh I can't you know I really enjoyed Jelly's Last Jam.
Mm.
Hmm. Hmm.
That was a great show. You know, I
Yeah.
saw it with Maurice and Savion. I did not see it with Gregory and Savion.
Okay.
I had seen Gregory in other contexts live, and of course,
Hmm.
loved it. But I have to say, Maurice held it down. It was a beautiful performance.
Oh,
Um,
here's one more. And Still You Must Swing.
oh, God, I'd love to see that.
That
I did not
was
get to see that, but that is on my list.
that was incredible. That was with the supervillains.
Yeah, right?
Speaking of the supervillains, I have sent in my application to join that group. I haven't heard back from them yet.
Uh,
Maybe I'll, emeritus or something like that along the way.
yes. All right, you can go back in time and see any one tap performer or performance. What do you see?
I would want to see Sammy Davis. I think his performance would be out of this world between singing, talking, and tap dancing, and just the things that you see online, the way he had his shows structured, I think I would definitely want to sit back and watch his show, you know.
I know my mom is watching this Instagram, so I have to say this or she'll kill me afterwards. When I was 17, my mom and I and my friend Michelle and I think my friend Lisa, we went and saw Sammy Davis Jr. on a double bill with Jerry Lewis in
Wow.
Vegas, which, if you're going to see Sammy, why not in Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I was in Vegas for a dance thing, and I saw the hotel across the street, the marquee, said Sammy Davis Jr. and Jerry Lewis, and I said, we have to go. And I will tell you, I cried. I was a tap nerd, right? We're tap nerds. And I was 17. And, 3 times I cried. One of my favorite little things is, he did Mr. Bojangles, of course.
Wow. Okay.
Before he sang it, he made a point to tell the audience, I want you all to know that I knew Bill Robinson, and this song is not a biographical tune. Yeah, this song has nothing to do with the historical figure of Bill Robinson. This is, a made-up song about a figure kind of modeled on him. But it was really important to him that we in the audience knew that kind of tragic, because it's a very sad song, right?
Yeah.
That song in no way, shape, or form reflected the actual life of Bill Robinson. So I thought that was cool that he took a moment to share that.
Yeah, definitely.
I never got to meet him. I saw him perform, but I never got to meet him. And that I agree. To me, he is one of the he is the greatest all-time entertainer.
Yeah.
Period. Bar none. Okay, moving on. Sorry, we could talk about Sammy Davis Jr. forever.
Yeah.
Best venue you've ever played?
I'd say the Ambassador, Broadway. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Finally, the most controversial question. Second step of the Shim Sham. Do you start on the 4 or the 1?
And 1 and 2.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, so before I have one final question before we get to it, I need to thank a few people. I want to thank Leah Koch, our marketing director and tech guru. She makes all this happen. I want to thank our staff, Molly, Allie, Sarah, our amazing new interns, Emily and Allie, that are working remotely. They're doing amazing work. I want to thank my set dresser, producer, and business manager of Chicago Tap Theater, and my beautiful wife, Jennifer Yonley. Sunday on the Tea on Tap, we have Guillem Alonso, straight from Barcelona.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That'll be a really fun one. And you must have had time in New York around the same period, right? Because Guillem was there dancing with ATDO and Manhattan Tap. He's another one of those people who's just, I've never heard him say a mean thing about a single person. He just is so sweet. So that's going to be a fun one, Sunday at noon. A reminder that tomorrow at 5 is the next edition of Book Club. We're reading The Soles of Your Feet by Asia Gray. Asia will be there to talk about her book, so check that out. Please continue coming to our classes on Wednesday. That is all of that stuff. So now, the final shuffle. When you shuffle off this mortal coil, how do you most want to be remembered as a tap artist?
Oh, just someone who had a kind heart. Yeah, just was kind, grateful. I often intentionally in public thank God for all of our dancers who came before us and those who passed, So yeah, someone who wanted to be kind, and promote kindness. Yeah.
Well, Baakari, let me tell you, based on everything that I heard from everybody when I announced that you were going to be the guest, there is no doubt that that's how you will be remembered. I want to thank you so much for being my guest. You shared so many amazing stories, and I really enjoyed it. Thank you, Capital Tap, for watching and having some nice notes. We appreciate that. Baakari, I can't wait for you and I to continue our conversation. Yeah,
yes,
you are definitely somebody that I want to keep. I want to keep our conversation going. So thank you for your time. Thank you, everybody watching. And we will chat again soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
All right, bye.